Hello everyone, so today we're at Primal Plunges and we're going to compare our chiller against some of the competing chillers. Now we cover the names so no one gets mad at us and we can have a fair review, so let's dive into it. Now that we have the covers off the chillers, we can take a look inside and see what actually matters. Now one thing we like to look at is what we call fit and finish, just how the chillers are generally assembled. You can get a good idea of the manufacturing process that was used in the chiller just by taking a look inside. Now when we look at the black chiller, we literally see tape holding together some of the loosely applied insulation. We have spray paint marks where spray paint was used to cover the areas that weren't painted well. And actually, if we look where the pipes go into the heat exchanger, we'll see torch marks and rust already starting where they simply cut a giant hole in the side panel to get the pipes through. A very, very poor manufacturing method. Over on the white chiller, we do see slightly better fit and finish. However, again, we see very thin paint, we see chips in the paint, and we already see rust starting on the bottom of the case. When we take a look at the Primal Plunges chiller, we'll notice a very nice fit and finish. Everything's very organized, all stainless steel hardware used inside, a stainless steel base to prevent any possibility of rusting from water sitting on the bottom of the case. You can tell by taking a look at it, things are very organized and just very well manufactured, a very tight, clean process. Now let's take a quick look at some of the components inside these chillers. If we take a look at the black chiller, we'll find the pump located here. The pump actually isn't mounted to anything, it's just free floating here and being held on by hose clamps. It does have a rubber foot that would be used for sound dampening, but it's actually not connected. If we go over to the white pump, the pump is mounted to the case, and what you notice is there is no rubber sound dampening around the pump. The pump is just strapped directly to the case, which causes excessive noise. Now when we take a look at the Primal Plunges pump, it's located on a rubber footing for sound dampening, and all the connections on it are threaded like they should be. So the heat exchanger is a very important part inside a cold plunge chiller. It's what allows the cool refrigerant to pull heat out of the water that's going into the cold plunge. The black unit here uses a plate heat exchanger. We don't like these because while they are efficient at pulling heat from water, they allow very narrow passages for the water to go through. And what happens is they start to get corroded, depending on what material they're made out of. And also, any type of gunk that makes it in the water can end up clogging these heat exchangers, causing the pump to work harder and end up failing. Now, the white unit uses a shell and tube heat exchanger. Now, while these are less prone to clogging, they aren't as efficient at allowing the refrigerant to pull the heat out of the water because there's only so much time that water has in contact with the refrigerant. Now, when we take a look at our Primal Plunges heat exchanger, you'll notice this big insulated loop in the very front of it. This is called a double pipe heat exchanger. Now, what it is, it has the advantages of both systems. It is two pipes. The outside pipe is what contains the refrigerant, and the inside pipe is where the water travels. Now, both of them are in contact with each other for a long distance of this water traveling multiple times around this loop. And the pipe inside is actually also corrugated, so it increases the contact surface area. So we have no chance of getting any type of clogs. It's very efficient and easy on the pump, but we also get a lot of contact time between the refrigerant and the water. Additionally, ours is made out of titanium. And the reason we do that, even though titanium costs more, is because it has a superior corrosion resistance to anything in the water, plus it has an excellent thermal conductivity, which is better than stainless steel that allows for a very efficient heat transfer. Some of these other heat exchangers that we look at are made out of steel or sometimes stainless steel, but only a 304 grade stainless steel, which is still prone to corrosion with some chemicals that can be found in the water. Now let's take a look at filtration. All three of these chillers on the box say they have ozone generation as well as double filtration. But when you look closer, there's definitely a difference. The black unit here has an ozone generator. We don't see anything wrong with it. But what we don't like is the filtration. If you look at the filtration, it has a very small main filter, and it's only a 5 micron filter instead of the 20 that we use. This small size means it's going to clog quicker and you have to change the filters more often. We also notice that the mounting of it is very, very poor. Additionally, these type of filters, you have to use a tool to rotate the filter off. A lot of water ends up spilling, and then you have to refill the container with water to get it primed again. When we take a look at the white unit, the first thing we notice with the ozone generator is, first of all, it's just laying here flapping around. But what we noticed is if you look at the tubing, it is already discoloring. The tubing they used for the ozone generator is not compatible with ozone. certain plastic tubings can degrade, dry, crack, and leak when exposed to ozone. This particular manufacturer did not use the correct tubing on their ozone generator, which means it will prematurely fail and likely leak, causing an air leak and the pump to stop running. We do like the white unit's top mount accessible filter. It makes it easy to change the 20 micron filter without getting water everywhere or needing a bunch of tools. What we didn't like was there actually was a small air leak in this filter housing that was causing air to make it into the water lines and through the pump, increasing the pump's noise volume. Now, when you take a look at the Primal Plunge's filtration system, first let's look at the ozone generator. It's a high output, very well built ozone generation that's actually variable. So through our touchscreen, you can dial the ozone generation up and down. It's also rated for thousands of hours of usage. If you look at some of these other ozone generators, they're only rated for several hundred hours before they can be expected to stop working. Our filtration system is also where the Primal Plunge's chiller really shines. We have a top mount accessible main filter that you can simply unscrew, change your filter, put the new one back in, screw it on, done. No tools needed, no water leaking anywhere. If any water does come out, we have a catch basin here which will catch the water and keep it off your floors. I can't stress enough the importance of being able to change your filter easily. Many people that have cold plunges don't change their filters enough, and what it causes is for the system to get gummed up and for that pump to work much harder. And pump failure is one of the main things you want to worry about when you're looking at cold plunge chillers. So we want to make sure the entire water loop can flow easily and that we can encourage users to change their filter regularly to keep the pump and the water clean and the pump working well. So let's take a look at the condenser coil. The condenser coil in a chiller is how the heat leaves the unit. So it gets picked up by the heat exchanger and then it moves on to what looks like a radiator or similar to what you see on the unit outside your house. Now, if we look at the black unit, it is a fairly good sized unit but only has one loop. And we also notice is that the airflow through the unit to get to this condenser coil is very blocked. It's very hard for air to move through this system. If we take a look at the white unit, it also has airflow issues where it's very hard to move air through this unit, but not as bad as the black unit. But what we notice is it has a very small condenser coil, which means it's going to have a hard time removing a lot of heat from the water and working in hot environments. If we take a look at the Primal Plunge's condenser coil, it is very large, you can see. And we have very good airflow through the unit. We really need to get as much airflow evenly across this coil as humanly possible. Additionally, our coil has two loops, so it basically functions almost twice as efficiently as a single loop condenser coil. We also wrap ours in the corner to try to keep our unit smaller, but still have enough surface area to be able to remove heat from the water in hot environments like Arizona and Texas. So if we take a look at the black chiller, we'll notice that the metal is very thin, the paint is very thin, it's been sprayed on, and we're actually already seeing small amounts of rust underneath the screws. The hardware it uses is not stainless steel, so the screws will start to rust, and there's no plastic washers underneath them, so when they tighten the screws, they actually damage the paint underneath it, exposing the steel of the case. The case on the bottom actually does not have stainless steel, so when water drips into the bottom of the chiller, it will start to rust. Look at the unit to the right. It does have a slightly better design. Again, it is spray painted. The metal is very, very thin. The edges are not rolled. It does not have a very good manufacturer feel to it. It feels very cheap. What we notice on both these chillers is actually the touchscreen, though it is waterproof on the front, requires a gasket. Both of them were missing the gaskets, which means over time, water will leak through and that screen will likely fail. Now, if we look at our chiller, we have a very thick metal case. The bottom of our chiller is actually stainless steel, so any water it does make it down there will not rust, even if it does make it through the paint. So things as simple as our hardware is stainless steel. We use plastic washers so it will not damage the paint and expose the metal when that screw is tightened. Our touchscreen has the gasket that it needs and is securely tightened in there, so there is no chance of water leakage. We have just a much better fit and finish. Now, if we take a look at the labeling on the back of these units, we'll actually notice that they're very generic. These are clearly drop ship units that are made in mass by a manufacturer that simply puts a logo on a chiller and sells it to whoever is willing to buy it. If we look at the back of these chillers, we'll notice that both of them have fans that protrude out the back of them, very noisy, not very efficient. We'll also notice on the back of these chillers that the black one actually does not have threads for its hoses. It has barbs, which means the hoses are held on with hose clamps. We'll even notice on the white unit that the threads for the water in and out are made of aluminum, and they're very rough and not manufactured very well. We feel that these will probably wear out over time and potentially leak. Now, if we look at our unit, we'll notice that our water inlet and outlet connections are stainless steel, very well manufactured, very secure to the case, and what you'd expect for a quality chiller. So I hope this video helps you understand that just because a unit says it has an ozone generator and a pump and a filter doesn't mean they're all the same. You can tell by simply looking at the insides of these units which ones are not manufactured very well and which ones had a lot of thought, care, and precision put into them. So take this in consideration when you're comparing specs. Almost every chiller will say that it's the best and that it has ozone generation and filtration. But when you look at the details matter. So we hope that this video helped you understand what to kind of look for. It is hard to get this information from most manufacturers because they do not show the insides of their units. They don't give the details. Here at Primal Plunges, we're happy to show you the insides of our units. If you have questions, feel free to give us a call at Primal Plunges. We're happy to talk about the different types of chillers and the advantages and disadvantages to different methods that all these manufacturers use to cool water and filter it for your plunge. We hope this video is helpful, and give us a call if you have any questions.